life when the noise of achievement drowns out the rhythm of our own hearts. We chase goals, collect stamps on our passports, and yet, somewhere along the way, we forget to breathe in the journey itself. Listeners, today on the Cosmic Confluence with your host Sana, we are joined by someone who chose to step off the treadmill of global sales and into the wild pulse of nature. A former international traveler turned hiking guide and surf instructor, my guest has redefined success through simplicity, discipline, and gratitude, finding peace not in constant motion but in mindful direction. So, together we are going to explore how mindset shapes the way we experience the world, why discipline is more about devotion than control, and how gratitude transforms the everyday into the extraordinary. So, listeners, meet my lovely guest, Ruth O'Meara. So, Ruth, welcome to the show. And as always, it is really, really an honor to have you here with us.
Hi, Sana. Thank you so much. Lovely to be chatting to you again.
Definitely, definitely. Uh, Ruth, let's understand. I mean, of course, your journey from international sales to guiding others through Ireland's landscapes. It really feels like a powerful shift from pressure to presence. Um, what mindset shift allowed you to make that leap? Like, was it courage, clarity, or simply like, that feeling of exhaustion that pushed you forward?
Right, great question. Yeah, and I think it's a mix of all. Certainly, courage and clarity were involved. And I think, like every change in life, it's not just one day, it's kind of years of steps and years of mindset shifts. And to me, I've always been evaluating what brings me joy and taking responsibility for my career and my life path. And I always think trust is so important. We mightn't always know how the change happens or when, and I've never been one to list out a definite career path. I've always kind of trusted my intuition and kind of felt into what felt right. But I think visualization is so important, tuning into what we love. And I know, as I'm sure you know, that our brain doesn't know the difference between visualizing something and actually experiencing it. So I always thought daydreaming, coming back to what I love, having those thoughts in my mind on a daily basis helps kind of strengthen that muscle and get me to a space of kind of strengthening the muscle of what I love to do, where I'd love to be. And then things can naturally open up. I think the more we kind of just strengthen that muscle of joy and clarity on where we want to go. And then it does take courage to make that leap, make that change when most people are maybe doing something different. But it's always rewarding because I think all of our life paths are so unique. So the more we kind of start pivoting and stepping into things that we love, the more rewarding it is for us personally, because it's a personal satisfaction that we feel when we're in alignment with what we love and what brings us joy and how we can serve others. So yeah, I suppose back to your question, it was a mix of courage and clarity and getting to the point where it's like, okay, this isn't maybe bringing me joy anymore. What else would work?
Mm. I totally agree with you. And we often say, and through so many conversations, um, it's just kind of sometimes, it really brings a um, very basic, fundamental question in our minds that uh, true change, does it often begins in a discomfort, like burnout or some life, event? Or is it possible that we can evolve from a place of peace as well? So what's your thought on this, Ruth?
Well, I love the analogy of the oyster and the pearl. You know the way a pearl is created in the oyster from a grain of sand that irritates the oyster. It's an irritation, and that's what creates the beautiful pearl. So I think I think there for me, there has to usually be some discomfort or something because if everything is easy and satisfactory and, then there's really no urge or desire to kind of make a big shift, make a big change. But I think if there's that, like that grain of sand in the oyster, if there's that bit of irritation, we can still appreciate and have gratitude for our situation and where we are. And I think that's always so important because it shifts our energy from lack into abundance. If we can appreciate where we are today, it brings us into a state of empowerment. But then also kind of allowing ourselves to dream and visualize and want something different can really bring us to a new space. But I do think that little bit of dissatisfaction, discomfort can help propel us there because it is that motivation for us to actually want to change and to have the discipline to keep up that, that new dream, that new hope, that new mindset, which might only be a few minutes a day, but over years that builds up and it can shift us to a place of more clarity and open up more opportunities that we mightn't have seen if we didn't have that little bit of discomfort or dissatisfaction to kind of shift us.
Exactly. Yes, yes. And I love that because we often romanticize transformation, but it definitely starts with discomfort, or um that feeling, that ache of knowing that we are meant for more, whether individually or collectively. And I think that ache, it can become a compass if we listen to it. And that's what you did as well, Ruth, when you transitioned from something as highly pressurized role, like sales, that to international sales, to then guiding others through the beautiful landscapes of Ireland. So yeah, I think that's really, really, I think that's such a uh, inside out transformation that you have had. Now, Ruth, let's get into the nature. Like in your work as a guide, you have seen people find calm just by walking through nature. I can definitely imagine that. Do you believe that discipline plays a role in that kind of peace, or is it more about surrendering control?
Um, that's an interesting question. I think there's both in it. I think in our modern world we do need discipline to and I loved what you said about the ache, knowing that we're meant for more. I completely agree and that it is a compass. I think that's so true. But in order of or for us to follow that compass, I think we do need discipline. And for me, nature, spending time being present, spending time with ourselves can bring that clarity to our life path. So I think the discipline is removing ourselves from the constant modern distractions and the pull of them, be it Netflix, be it YouTube, be it entertainment in whatever form to actually remove ourselves and go to a park, spend time in nature, and just to help us tune into that inner compass. And within that, we can surrender because I think often we don't have the answers in the moment of what the next step is. That's certainly been my experience, but it's tuning into the desire for something different. And that can help with the compass um, and I suppose aligning itself in the right direction for us. But I think both the discipline and the surrender bring us there. Spending time being present in nature, if possible, meditating, going within to get clear, and that does take discipline because it's just so easy to be drawn into all of the modern distractions and all the bright lights and everything to actually just tune in on a daily basis and then it helps get clear on maybe wanting something different and just allowing that to marinate and it's okay. I don't think we're always supposed to have the answer when we have the desire. It's knowing, okay, actually there is that ache, like you say, for more. What would I love to be doing? What would bring me joy? And I think when we're in that, we are in alignment with our soul purpose when we start tuning into that joy, because that's how we can best serve the world and serve others. And it's important that that's in alignment for us, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think that, because some say here, Ruth, that discipline, it brings it gets us into a monotonous way of living. It kills creativity. Routines make us rigid. Do you think that this is true, or discipline actually create more freedom for us?
Like, I think some mental discipline is necessary. I don't think it's necessary to have a extremely rigid structure where there's no room for creativity or play. That's, I suppose, not how I would see discipline. I think within it, so creativity and play is so important, and flexibility. But it is the discipline, I suppose, to commit to ourselves in some way, to commit to some daily practice of meditation, of dance, of some sort of creativity, something that will bring us within, and practicing that regularly, practicing something regularly that will bring us joy in order to strengthen that muscle. So I think within that there's discipline, but it's not about punishing ourselves or forcing too much of a structure where there isn't room for flexibility or opportunity or change to come in. And I suppose it is a fine line because we can be so focused on our goals, we don't want to miss, as they say, the wood for the trees. We want to be able to see the bigger picture and be open to opportunities that come in a way maybe that we don't expect. But I do think that presence, that clarity, strengthening the joy muscle helps us kind of think outside of the box and see things and see opportunities that if we were very kind of overly disciplined in a way of in our own lives, losing flexibility, we mightn't actually see the opportunity.
Hmm. I love that nuance. Love that nuance, Ruth. Yes. I think it definitely um that explores that possibility where discipline and freedom can kind of dance together. It's almost like paradoxical, yet maybe that's where that mastery lives, in knowing that when to hold on and when to let go. And I think
Yeah,
that is,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yes.
And I think it's a fine line, and I think it's about choice, that if we want to choose to make change, make shifts in our lives, we have to have some discipline within that, because if we are just doing what we always did, there's possibility there can be stagnancy there. Whereas if we can allow that hope, that inspiration, and I think that's something we personally have to work on.
Yeah, totally, totally. And Ruth, of course, I think it's definitely a gift. I mean, you have traveled the world. Um, you have guided countless journeys. Now I would bring in here the essence of gratitude. Um, how has gratitude evolved for you? Like, if you can um share, like, what exactly you used to think about, what to be thankful about, or maybe, or you never used to think before you actually explored the different cultures, different countries in there. Like, does it come naturally to you now, or do you still have to practice it intentionally?
I definitely still have to practice it intentionally. Like every night I will think of 5 things I'm grateful for that day, and I've done that for years. I had a Reiki teacher years ago, and she advised me to do that, and I started doing that, and at first it was quite difficult. But again, it's a discipline, and I think it's so important because I think it does bring us into an empowered place. And I find when I do that every evening, I start remembering things about the day that were more positive than I maybe had forgotten about. So I think it's a constant daily practice, and I think it's a very important practice because I think it reminds us to be empowered in what we have and appreciate the abundance that is in all of our lives, even if we're not feeling it, and it can allow that again to flow more. So it's still a discipline for me, it's still a daily practice. And I have noticed shifts in my own life from continuing to do that, continuing to strengthen that muscle. But I have to keep reminding myself to do that too, because I think we're all human, and I think the human brain can lean towards the negativity. I remember reading some studies on that. So I think to practice that muscle within ourselves and to truly be grateful for the simple things. It could be a smile from someone, seeing a flower, a bit of sunshine, simple everyday things that we can just appreciate can really help bring us into a more empowered place, I think.
Exactly, exactly. And um I think it's a reminder that, it gratitude, it isn't a mood, or it's not just way of ignoring the reality or running away from the problems, but I think it's a muscle, and it can weaken if we neglect it. So yes, irrespective, yes, everyone, we would have difficult situations in our lives, or some challenges to face upon, but um, gratitude, it brings us back to appreciate what we already have, and definitely also brings clarity, because you know that you have these blessings with you. Maybe it's you, or maybe it's the nature, or it's the food, or it's the roof, that you have above your head, but it really really brings humility and strength and clarity within you.
Absolutely. Because I think even if our situations change, we still have the same brain, you know? So unless we're constantly appreciating and having gratitude and creating that as a strength, our external environment isn't necessarily going to give us that. It can give us a boost, but I think it's the work within, the mental work, which really translates to how we're feeling and our mindset every day. So if we can strengthen that, I think just changing a person to a different environment, it might help them, give them a boost, but it's our own responsibility to daily do that work in order to just constantly get the joy flowing.
Hmm. Yeah, sure. And Ruth, I think this is such a, for me as well, a very, very personally a kind of connected question. Now, many of us reach that cosmic crossroads, the moment when comfort and calling pull in opposite directions. We often kind of, we do dream of changing careers or following a passion, but um, fear and uncertainty hold us back. So, in your own life, how did you recognize which voice to trust? Like, was it your intuition whispering to you, or discipline quietly guiding you forward?
To me, I suppose it gets to the point where it's a doors open up, and I would say no until it's a clear yes, intuitively, until it's a clear yes. And then obviously having a structure set up where you can make it work, because obviously we're in a world where security, finances, all these things are necessary. We need to be able to pay the bills and have the roofs over our heads. So if we're making changes, we want to make them responsibly. So I think having small changes first, doing hobbies that we love, and kind of knowing, I suppose to me there is a knowingness within when it's a yes from your body and mind and soul that this is the path to go on. But if you do it with too much uncertainty, there's just going to be too much fear there, I think. So there has to be that balance of knowing the security to mind your your physical body, to be able to pay your bills, to be able to put a roof over your head is important. So I think too extreme of a leap could maybe cause too much panic. It's kind of maybe gently doing things part time that we love and growing them that way first, and it takes time, and then, which is what I was doing, and then kind of it can gradually transition into something more.
Mm.
But for me, it's important that it's done responsibly so that we can remain calm and that we can adjust as well to a different path.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I that absolutely makes sense. And I think um uh, I mean, some might would say here that chasing joy sounds idealistic, that in today's economy, but you really really kind of blended the uh, the reality of today into this approach, and I think it's a very mindful one. And also, I would also like into swing in the beauty of our nature. Before we wrap up, Ruth, like we always see that nature has a rhythm that never rushes. um we have seasons change, tides flowing, everything. It I don't know, I mean, it somehow finds balance in its own time, and I think that's the strength that we sometimes tend to uh, not see when it comes to nature. In your experience, Ruth, how can we tune into that natural rhythm within ourselves, especially when life could feel for us out of sync or chaotic?
Yeah, well, I do think nature teaches us. It teaches us what's actually real and it can teach us to calm down. So, how to tune in is, like I mentioned, having a daily practice, be it a visualization in the morning, setting an intention for the day, having a gratitude practice in the evening, and if you can, spending some time in nature every day, be it 10 minutes on a lunch break to a local park, or even closing your eyes and visualizing a beautiful scene in nature, I think can all remind us of the natural rhythm of nature, and that maybe we can take a breath and we can calm down and we can maybe make decisions from a calmer, more measured place by looking at how nature works. And it's been here a lot longer than us. So it does have things to teach us, I think.
It do. But I mean, I think this is a cosmic truth, that maybe nature doesn't fix this; it reflects us, and it shows that even stillness has movement, and even chaos have a pattern here. So I think there's a lot to learn from nature. And before we wrap up, Ruth, if our listeners they would like to connect with you, and also they would like to get an idea of your work that you're doing at Leafy Green Tours, what would be the best way?
Sure, it's just leafygreentours.com is the website, and the email is hello@leafygreentours.com.
Yeah. So, listeners, I'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes. So you can refer to them along with this episode with your favorite podcast platform. And I think if I can summarize here, as we close this conversation, um, specifically around mindset, discipline, and gratitude. I think mindset, it isn't about perfection. Um, it is about perspective, and also discipline. It isn't about control. It is about alignment. And of course, gratitude is the breath that carries us through it all. So, Ruth, thank you so much for you know uh, sharing your insights and giving your thoughts, when it comes to all these three, and of course the beauty of nature, the beauty of the Irish landscapes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sana. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And to all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Cosmic Confluence. I hope that you find moments of stillness that ground you, challenges that shape you, and the small, the teeny tiny joys that remind you that you are exactly where you need to be. Until then, this is your host, Sana, signing off. Thank you.